In the dying light of dusk, Greywood lay silent, a forsaken hamlet whose secrets festered beneath the heavy mist. Locals whispered that when the full moon reigned, a curse would stir beneath the soil. The werewolf, a creature doomed by a forgotten past, would prowl the borders between man and beast. The legend began with an ancient grievance, a betrayal etched in blood and sorrow. Centuries ago, a villager had dared to invoke forbidden rites, unknowingly summoning a primal force that split his form between humanity and a ravenous wolf. Since that cursed night, the entity known as the werewolf haunted Greywood, forever drawn to the fragility of human hope and life. Act 1, A Haunting Arrival. Evan, a determined but skeptical wanderer with a troubled past, arrived in Greywood to uncover the truth behind the local lore. His heart thundered as he stepped onto frost-crusted cobblestones, each echo reminding him that every legend has a kernel of reality. The villagers eyed him warily, their silent glances carrying unspoken terror of dark nights and unholy howls. That first night, as a sickle of silver light cut through the looming fog, Evan couldn't shake the chill that crept along his spine. The wind whispered warnings through creaking branches, and somewhere in the distance, a mournful howl pierced the silence, a sound so heart-wrenching it could unmoor even the most steadfast soul. In his modest lodgings at the village's edge, Evan discovered fragments of the werewolf's history in an old diary. The pages told of nights when the transformation was complete, a man's tortured soul steeped in remorse, his eyes burning with a pain beyond mortal comprehension. Each entry was marked with hurried, trembling script, as if the writer had been fleeing not just from lunacy, but from a monstrous truth. Act 2, The Signs Grow Ominous. Over several restless nights, unnerving coincidences began to mount. Doors were found splintered, as if clawed by enormous talons, and strange, oversized paw prints marred the soft earth outside his window. The air turned painfully cold and heavy, suffused with the metallic tang of fear. In the dead of night, shadows twitched at the edges of his vision, and the silence was punctured by irregular, guttural growls that reverberated through the tranquil darkness. One moonless night, while returning from a hesitant conversation with an elder who muttered of terrible curses and unredeemed sins, Evan found himself drawn to the forest. A narrow, unkempt trail led him deep where the trees grew thicker and the whispering wind became a symphony of dread. Every snapped twig beneath his footfall reminded him that he was never alone. As he ventured further, a flash of golden eyes broke the murk. In that terrible moment, the line between legend and reality blurred. The eyes were too large, too predatory, an unignorable signal that the creature was near. His heart raced as he pressed on, guided by an irresistible urge to unravel the mystery before him. Yet every step forward only deepened the sense of doom. Act 3, The Confrontation. At the edge of an ancient clearing, shrouded by a hunched canopy of dying oaks and choking vines, Evan discovered an abandoned cabin. Its windows were shattered, and its door hung askew like the grin of a madness long past. Within, splatters of disturbed earth and tufts of coarse fur painted a grim tableau, a sight where nature's horror had been unleashed. Inside the musty darkness, the signs grew unmistakable. Objects were strewn about as if ripped apart by an unseen force. A broken mirror reflected a warped reality, and on the wall, a single message scrawled in crude handwriting warned, "Heed the curse or suffer the night's wrath." Every nerve in his body screamed to flee, yet his need for answers anchored him to that dreadful threshold. Then, as the full moon rose in all its ghastly glory, the night shuddered. A sickening sound, a mix of agony and fury, rumbled from the forest depths. In that cacophonous moment, the werewolf burst forth from the gloom. It was terrible and immense, a towering, sinewy figure whose once human form was twisted into a nightmarish mockery of manhood. Its eyes glowed with haunting luminescence, and every rippling muscle, every ragged snarl, spoke of ancient, undying malice. Caught in a paralyzing stare, Evan's mind became a tempest of terror and awe. The creature's breathing was ragged, accompanied by the heavy thud of its massive paws on decaying floorboards. Every inch of its being radiated a dreadful energy, as if the darkness itself had manifested into flesh. For a harrowing moment, time stretched, and the only sound was the collective pounding of two terrified hearts. Act 4, The Pursuit. With primal speed, the werewolf lunged forward. Evan, seized by a burst of desperate adrenaline, bolted from the cabin into the labyrinth of trees. The forest transformed into a chaotic gauntlet of sinister shapes and echoing sounds, the snapping of twigs behind him, the haunting, almost musical cadence of the creature's howls, and the staccato pounding of his pounding heart. Every shadow seemed to hide terror, every whispered rustle urged him to run. He dashed along a winding path that led to a forgotten cemetery, where time-worn tombstones jutted from the earth like broken teeth. Here, the veil between life and death was perilously thin. The moonlight, filtered through skeletal trees, danced across the gravestones in macabre patterns. It was as if the very dead were silently pleading for salvation. Evan's breath came in short, terrified gasps. The relentless pursuit of the werewolf filled him with an overwhelming dread. This was not merely an animal hunt but a chase after his very soul. As the gap between predator and prey closed, shadows merged with the cacophony of Evan's frantic thoughts. In that moment, every fear he had ever harbored materialized, a realization that this creature, born of a cursed past, was now free to spread terror among the living. Act 5, The Final Stand. Cornered between the ancient oaks and the silent dead, Evan turned to face his tormentor. Time itself seemed to hiss as the werewolf advanced, a creeping horror whose snarls resonated with a promise of unyielding damnation. In the dim light, their eyes locked, one pair burning with unearthly rage, the other filled with the raw, terrified determination of a man fighting for survival. In that charged moment, the forest seemed to hold its breath. The werewolf circled slowly, each deliberate step a reminder of nature's savage indifference. Its features, halfway between human sorrow and animalistic fury, told tales of a curse that could never be undone. Evan reached inside himself for a fragment of courage, a spark of the person he once was, and raised his trembling hand in a silent plea for mercy from a fate he could not escape. The ensuing confrontation was a blur of clashing instincts and raw terror. In a desperate bid, Evan hurled himself towards an old church ruin rising from the earth like a broken sandal. As the creature followed, the echo of its unholy howls mingled with the creaking, mournful structure. Every moment was a battle not only for his life but for the soul of Greywood, the cursed ground that had birthed this nightmare. Within the church's shattered halls, light and dark battled in every corner. Cobwebs trembled with the memory of prayers long forgotten, and shattered glass glittered dangerously on the cold stone floor. Evan could feel the presence of 1,000 lost souls around him. The werewolf's relentless pursuit was a grim reminder that evil, once unleashed, never truly dies. It only waits in silence for the next full moon. Epilogue, an ominous legacy. When morning's pale light finally crept over Greywood, it revealed a scene of unsettling aftermath. There were no triumphant cries and no clear victory. Instead, the village bore scars of a night's terror, broken doors, haphazard claw marks on walls, and whispers among the villagers of a duel with darkness that left more questions than answers. Evan vanished that day, leaving behind nothing but fragments of his harrowing ordeal and a cryptic note. In the cursed whispers of the night, I have seen the werewolf and its terrible truth. If you value your sanity, heed this warning, for it lives, and it will come for those who dare to seek the light in the darkness. As Greywood slowly awoke, an undercurrent of dread persisted. The wind carried echoes of the creature's howls, and the villagers' eyes darted nervously to the dark edges of the forest. In every flicker of shadow and every rustle of leaves, the werewolf's presence was an ever-looming reminder that some curses can never be exorcised. Thus, the legacy of the werewolf endures, a relentless specter haunting the boundary between myth and reality. The terror it inspires is not confined to one night, it seeps slowly into the hearts of all who dare remember. And as long as the full moon ascends, the cursed howl will return, ensuring that the darkness remains forever etched in the soul of Greywood.